Okay. So welcome everyone to the Castle Steps drawing on gray toned paper. If you don't happen to have gray toned paper, we've actually done this on like tan toned paper. If you've got some construction paper lying around, you could even do it on construction paper, whatever color you want. We just want to have it on toned because we're going to be using our black pen. And then also I put in there, if you don't have a white pen, you can also use a white colored pencil, or you can use both. I have a white colored pencil here. So basically what I did in my original, I actually used white colored pencil, and I used, in some parts, I used the white pen. But to keep it simple, I told everybody to use either one or the other, depending on how, which library I was teaching it for, and their supplies. So, but you can have either one of those or both. All right, so we are going to get started. Oh, and I'm sorry if anybody doesn't know me. My name's Anita Thompson. It's very nice to be here with you this evening. I think I know pretty much everybody. I did see one name that I didn't recognize, although I don't see them anymore. So I hope they are going to come back. But this is being recorded. I will release it later tonight. Karen and Rebecca will probably get it tomorrow, and then give them some time to give it out. And it will be available on my YouTube channel in private, and then I release it after about a month publicly. Okay, so we are using 9x12 paper. I'm going to make my camera a little bit bigger here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with our pencil. And so we're going to talk a little bit about perspective. Oh, no worries, Lisa. Yay. I'm so glad I'm so glad you made it, Lisa. I'm so glad everybody made it. As I mentioned, we're going to do some perspective tonight, and I'm going to go slow. And you will be amazed at how it comes together at the end, especially because we're doing it in pen. It's going to look really good. So we are going to start off at the top right, toward the right top corner of our paper. So we're not going to be drawing exactly at the corner, but what we're going to do is we're going to draw the shape of our wall here, of the sort of enclave. And so we're going to start at the top, and we're going to make sure that we leave room on either side for our brick wall. So the way this is happening is there is a bit of the brick wall over here on the right side. There's some on the left as well, but basically our brick wall over here, as you can see, the steps are coming toward us. And so when something like that happens and we're standing at the bottom, right, of the step, so near the bottom, it's going to look bigger. And then as it goes back, it's going to be smaller. So the stairs are almost kind of going almost like there is a imaginary point, and it's really called a vanishing point. And I think what I'm going to do, I won't get into too much detail so that I don't confuse you on this one, but I think I'm going to do a separate video talking about perspective, because I've had quite a few people reach out to me and ask if I was ever going to do a perspective lesson. And so I thought I would have that, just kind of put it out on my channel. Thanks, Lisa, for the thumbs up. Anyway, with that being said, and hello, Kimberly, welcome. We are just getting started, so I will copy the information in the chat for you, just for the supplies, and this is being recorded, so just take your time. Okay, so back to the top right. And so we're going to create, and I'm going to make everything a lot darker. You're going to make sure that you make it lighter so that you can see it, but you don't want it to be so overwhelmingly dark. Although we are going over in pen, so if that's more helpful for you, I guess you could. All right, so knowing that we need to leave some space over here on the right, I'm going to move my pencil over here. Also, let me let me know if I'm going off the camera screen or anything. You can just write me a little text in the chat, or you can unmute and yell at me. I try to stay aware of it, but sometimes I get a little carried away. All right, so we're going to leave a little room here. And what we want to do is we want to make enough room to be able to do the curves. So if you want, you can kind of, make sure that you have enough room by starting here at the top. And so we're going to start with two curves, right? So right here, let me make this a little darker so you can see it on Zoom. And I'm going to move my camera a little closer as well. So here's the top part. I'm going to put sort of a circle at the top for the top of our architecture here. And I realize I have to move over just a little bit to the left. So I'm going to do that. So I want to move over a little bit more so that my top part is right here. And then I'm going to curve a little bit downward coming from the top for the top of the curve. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. But you probably want at least an inch of space on your right side of your paper. And I'm going to make this a lot darker. Try your best at having it look very similar to the left side. But don't go crazy with it, because we are going to get to a point where we can go back and sort of fix some things. But so this is basically this part here on the outside wall. And so we're going to go down about, it's about halfway of our paper, about halfway. So I'm going to make kind of two little spots here that are showing where to kind of stop. I'll let everybody get caught up. And then we're going to do some quick sketching inside of these areas. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back up to the top, and I'm going to move my camera up again. And basically what we're doing is we're going to be doing the outline here, and then this is a shadow. This dark spot, these dark spots, it's shadows. So we are going to draw those in, but first we're going to draw the outside area. And these are just basic lines right now. So we're basically doing the shape. And so we're going to stop about right here, because our brick wall is about right here. And if you want, you can go across the way and make another line so that you know that your brick wall is starting there. In the meantime, when you get to it, you're going to make the same shape on the other side of your drawing. So right now we're just making the basic shape of this architectural piece. And I wish I knew more about architecture. I don't know what that would be called. Just that it's more of like this was actually the front of a church that I did this, and it hangs over the top part of the door. I don't know what that's called. But anyway, if anybody knows, let me know, because I don't know what it's called. Okay, so next, what we're going to do, we have that spot. We're now going to draw the black area that's underneath. And so I'm going to make a line here, and let me get closer, even closer with my camera here. And we're going to make that same shape that we made because this is the shadow, but it's going to stop right here. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Except this shadow is going to have a line at the bottom of it like this. You know what? Let's make a line on both for now. I'm going to put some more light on my drawing here. I think it being gray toned is probably a little harder to see on Zoom. So yeah, I think that's better. Some more light. And going a little closer. Okay. So basically what we're doing is we are kind of making the bare bones at first, the shapes. We're going to come up here and we have some architecture happening still. And so we're going to leave some space down. We're going to draw a line across both sections. And on top of that, we're drawing the frame. So we're going to be drawing a square. So we're going to do the inside first. And so once we have that square, we're actually going to now come down here, or actually up here. Sorry, not down here. I was thinking we're going to come from here down to here because we're going to be making the brick wall. And so the way this is, we're going to bring this line down all the way down to this section. Remember, we made this little line right here. We're going to bring the line down to there. And we're going to create, on the left side, we're going to create the bricks that are making up that part of the wall. And I'm going to show you a close-up of that part of the wall. So what we're talking about is right here. So this is the front and this is the side, right? Because this door goes back a little bit farther. And so perspective-wise, this is what we're kind of dealing with. I'm going to kind of turn this over a second. Let's do a quick illustration here. So our bricks are like cubes, right? So here is the front. If I were to make the side of the cube, I would make it like this because of the perspective. And then if I were to make the top of it, I would make it like this. And then our cube, right? So if I were to make a bunch of these on top of each other, you wouldn't see the top. You would just see lines, which is what we're seeing in the bricks. But you would see the sides. I don't know if that makes sense or is helpful, but this is what you are seeing over here. And then it juts out a little more. We'll deal with that too. But I wanted to show you that's what we're dealing with. And then, behind here is all the, we've got the curve. So I'm just kind of showing you, and then there's the door. but this is what we're dealing with as far as perspective wise. So think of it as a cube, and we see the top part of it or the front part of it, and the side, to make it look like a cube, these lines are shortened. And so the side is shortened. If you were to turn a cube over, you wouldn't see, you know, this whole shape, right? You would only see a part of it. So let's start and do that. Hopefully I didn't confuse you, but I will repeat it on here. Okay, so what we're going to do, so here we are. This is the start of our wall of our cubes, right? Our bricks, basically. And so we're doing the whole thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to split it right here. So we're going to take that line and bring it down here. Now, once we do that, we're going to make the bottom of each of our cubes or bricks. So the first line on this side is straight. So we're going to make maybe 1, 2, we have 3. 1, 2, 3. If you have 4, that's okay. And now for the perspective part, we're going to go back to the bottom, and this line is going to go back. This line is going to go back. This line is also going to go back. And so is this one. We're going to change this one to go back. And all of a sudden, you have an interior. If I were to shade this, which, you know, we'll go back later, and we'll shade. Here are the other lines. So you can continue making those here on this side. And later on, we will shade those. You don't have to shade that now, but what I'm trying to show you is we just made the interior of an arch in perspective. Oh, I have someone coming in. Terry's joining us. Hi, Terry. I'm gonna copy the information in the chat. We're recording. So happy you could join us. Okay, so the way this is angled, we only see this part, and the other part is actually flat. And so what we'll do here is you can draw the other side of your brick, but it is going to be basically straight. So you can add some lines like this. This is your brick going up. We are going to add another piece eventually, but for now we can just add that like that. And we're going to draw our brick wall from it as well on the right side. And so what we're going to do, we have this part here, and behind it, we're actually right up against it, we have a line up here like this. That's going to start basically our stairs and our wall. So from here, right? We made this line, straight line. We come down here. And then we're going to angle our line right up against, right, our paper. This is our stairs. And our wall is here on the right side. So just by drawing this straight line and this line that is slightly angled, we just drew a bit of perspective. And we're going to leave the brick here for now. We're not going to do anything with it, but we're going to go to the steps for now. And then we'll come back up into the rest of the door. Actually, no. You know what? We're going to go up to the door. I think it's easier to go up to the door. I'm sorry about that. I rethought what I was thinking. Okay, so we have the two brick areas on either side. And now we're going to draw the curve of our door. And so we have basically another brick area that we're going to create starting down here. So we're going to go up, and just how this is getting some, we're going to leave some space up here. And the first thing we'll do is we'll draw a line, second line across, because there is another architectural sort of straight line here. And then we're going to draw our arch. This is not the doorway arch yet. This is still part of the architecture. So on either side, you can draw kind of like a rainbow shape. And then above that, you're going to make the other part of the rainbow shape. So here and here. Let me make this darker. Right now, these are just lines. We'll be piecing it all together. Eventually. And so we're going to make another brick area in the center. So what we're talking about now is this brick archway. Okay, we made the side here, and now we're going to come in and make this brick archway. So we're going to come out at the bottom here and here, two straight lines for now. Now we're going to come to the left bottom, and we're going to curve around all the way around as if we're creating a rainbow, but we are creating an archway. You may have to go back and fix your archway. And now we're going to make brick. So I'm going to make this part up here a little bit thinner because I want my archway to be a little bit taller. Okay, now we're going to make brick. So we're going to go around and make straight lines until we get to the archway, and then our lines are going to be more slanted. Go straight again when they get to the top, and then slant the other way. Until we go back down again. So I'll say that again. Basically, our lines in between the bricks go straight until the arch starts to form, and our lines start to go on the side until they get to the top of the arch, and they go slightly straight for maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3, and then they turn the other direction and then go straight again. Now we're going to make more perspective down here on the left. So we're going to, just like we did here, remember how we made this here, this line was straight, this line went back because it's perspective. We're going to do the same here. This line is straight, a very small line here because this perspective is a little more angled. This is the other part of the brick wall, the other side, and then it's going to go up, but it's going to hit the top of the curve and end. We just see a bit of a sliver. Now, it might be a little thicker on yours, so you can make the bottom part a little bit wider. But the top part hits, and then we don't see the rest of the brick except to then make the lines meet up with the other lines like so. But the lines are going this way inside. I'm going to make this a little bit darker. So here again, this will also get, later on, it will also get shaded. And now you just made an archway. And then we're going to make our door. And basically, so we have a lot of things in front of the door. We've got leaves, but so what we're going to do for right now is just make the bottom line here. And then we're going to start to make the line for our brick stairs on this side. So we make a line that's coming outward. And we're going to have the same situation where this part is actually a rectangle. And so we're going to make that rectangle like this. And it's going to be right at the bottom of where our brick is. This is the top part of our bricks going this way. And so what I'm going to do for now, so that you can kind of see the perspective, is I'm going to go like this. You don't have to do that, but I want to show you. Basically, this is where the bricks are going to be. And our stairs are going to be here. And so what we're going to do is the way our stairs work. I'm just going to do this and then I'll slow down. But the way our stairs work is basically, say this is the top of the stair, right? And our stairs are like rectangles as well, but they're going to go like this. Down the edge of this wall. And so what you'll do is you'll create stairs that look like this. But I wanted to get you to see that this is the side of sort of like a banister, even though it's not a banister. It is a, you know, these are still bricks. So you will go back and kind of make them look like that. Actually, these are the bigger bricks. So let me make these spaces a little bit wider. We are missing the bottom part of the door. Yeah, we haven't drawn the rest of it yet. And it's going to go down a little bit farther. Or I should say a little bit lower. So we're going to make this a little bit longer. And we're going to erase this for now. So I had you draw this here so that you could get the both sides sort of straight. And then we're going to erase that. So now we're going to go back. We're going to leave this for now, and we're going to come back up to the top to do the architecture up at the top. And then we're going to work our way down again. So we have some brick happening up here off to the side. So we're going to start at this circular area, and we're going to make 2 lines. So we're going to create the suggestion of bricks with these 2 lines. And then we start to go inside those 2 lines. And you can see where I've kind of started to make, let's make this one a little bit higher up. So we're going to stagger the bricks. So these are just the lines to the bricks on either side. And so I make lines in the middle, but the way bricks are, they're usually a little bit curved like that around the corners. So you can go back and make them a little bit curved. I got you, Kimberly. Hello. This one was just for demonstration. Okay, so going up here, we made a few of those bricks over there. We're going to come inside here and we're going to make that rectangle look more like a frame, like this. So we make a smaller rectangle inside and then connect at the corners like that. I'm going to go a little closer now. So almost like a frame. And then we have the top part. We have like a diamond shape. But that diamond shape also has perspective. So it's going to look like this. So we have another shape there. And then a line here. We'll let everybody get caught up. Okay, so now we're going to move the inside of this down. So I wanted to show you sort of where the stairs are going to be eventually, right? But we need to move the door just slightly lower. And so we're going to bring one more line down and make one more piece of brick. So that's going to look like this. So I went through this other line. And remember, our brick is straight on the front. And then it goes back like this on this side. This one just goes straight. And then this side is going to go straight again because we come up against our wall. And now we're going to make the door. And we're going to make two lines across the door. And we have some broken steps right here in the center at the bottom. And so we have that first broken step that's going to look like this. And this is all going to be shadow. But we'll go back with our pen. And we're going to be making that shadow. But it's right above that other line, which we'll also be making some more pen. But for now, we're going to make, it's going to sort of look like lines going here because it is basically a wooden door. And there are bolts here as well that are going to be round like this. And we have some more here at the bottom. So I'm making lines for the next section and then lines across. And again, making bolts, which are circular. And when we go back to them, we will make them with the pen, but we won't go and complete the line all the way. It'll look more like that with sort of a shadow underneath. And up here, we will use cross hatching with our pen. So you don't have to do this part yet, but I just kind of wanted to show you. We'll be adding some cross hatching and some shadowing. So now we're going to get to our stairs. And, you know, before we do that, actually, let's finish off this part here. We have a few architectural things here that we have to do. So we're going to come over here and we're going to make this brick on the side. So we're going to add some line work here. About 3. And then we have an architectural piece that is going to jut out on top of this section. So here's our wall on this side. This piece is going to kind of jut out like this, be a little bit wider than this piece. And then we add another section for the brick here. We don't really see it on the other side because we have, so right here, you don't have to color this in yet. We're going to do that with the pen, but if you want to, you could. That's going to go a little more to a point right up against our brick. And now we're also going to go up here. This is also going to get shaded at the bottom here because it is circular. If you want to do it with your pencil now, just so you know, you can do that. And then we also add brick on the other side, lines of brick. And then that's going to lead us down here. And we're going to make a line for the top part of right where our door is. 2 lines like so. And then our steps are going to start. And so, as I mentioned, our steps are basically going to be going on the side here. In a fashion like this. And I'm going to erase this part. And then from here, we're going to make those lines that are coming down because this is still brick. And I think I'm going to make the stairs just a little bit wider so that I want it to hit the brick here. And then you can start to make the stairs. So basically, your top part will hit in between where the points are. So as it goes like this, you make a line. And then another line because of the perspective. So I'm going to shade this to show you. So basically, this is the sort of center part of the stair. This is where you would step on. So each part in between is going to be shaded. And you're going to keep going down to the bottom. Sometimes you might have to adjust a step. And our last section is going to be where the steps start to break. So we've made all straight lines so far. Also remembering to go back up here as well. But our last step, or 2 steps, we're going to be making the shading and then the broken step, but basically doing it in a way where we are creating it in the shadowed part. And the bottom part of the step on the right is going to be like a cube again, except like an elongated cube. And make this bottom step a bit bigger. And then we have a piece of the broken step over here that is also like a broken cube. So if I were to do this shape, it's like this in shape, flat on the top. This is the rest of the step behind it. The broken piece part of it. But with this, we're going to break it even more at the bottom, right? Because there's a part missing from here. So I just go like this. And then break it off by erasing it. And then we need this to be the shadowed part. So think of it like this. This is the part that is in shadow. This is also the part that's in shadow over here. Let everybody catch up. Hey, Kimberly. Is another Kimberly? Mm. Hey, Kimberly. So you may have to extend your wall here on the left a little bit, right, to fit your stairs, just a little bit. This wall here. And we're going to start adding some light, basically like leaves and foliage over here. And so we would do things like this. And at the same time, do some hints of brick. So let's do the brick first. I wanted to kind of show you sort of, putting leaves on top of that. But we're going to first start off and make some lines that are going to suggest brick. And then that's when we start to go back and make some brick, kind of staggering here. And we will go back later with our black and kind of round out the corners. You can do that now if you find that more helpful to make it look more like brick. And we're just going for the suggestion of bricks. And this is where we start to draw. On top of these, we have some leaves and ivy. And then we draw it on top of the brick and we erase underneath so that the ivy is on top. So lots of little leaves on top of one another. Suggestions of leaves. By creating, pointy areas, right, that look like leaves. You can make actual leaves, leaf shapes, combination of, making a leaf like this. And then some that are a little more pointy, like that. And you're going to add those on the side here of the brick, on the left side. And then you're going to start also adding them on the stairs. And this is where we get the look of, lots of things happening on the stairs. We draw on top of the stairs and the brick that are already drawn. So you can make a leaf sort of hanging on one side here and like dripping on this side. And then you would erase inside because now the leaf is on top of it. And this part's going to be all in shadow as well. So leaf scattering, especially towards either side of the stairs. And it can be something as simple as wavy lines here to indicate leaves, and also broken, broken concrete on the stairs. We're doing that at the same time as well, but also making sure that you know where the dark areas of your stairs are so that you're not drawing on those parts. I like to pre-draw some of that in, but some of it, I honestly just took my pen and started kind of free sketching it with the pen. But you definitely want to make sure that you have, or Kimberly, I think she's having problems chemically. Hey, hi Kimberly. So we're going to scatter these leaves. And again, you can make things like, see what I'm doing here, where I'm making shapes, pieces of leaves that are holding, kind of on top of each other. And then also cracks in the steps, which will be a lot easier to see once we use the black. And we can go ahead, at that point and, we'll draw the leaves in, make them darker, obviously, with the pen. And then finally go back in with our highlights. So this is a very sketchy drawing. So if you feel comfortable starting in with your pen, you could, starting at the top. But I'm going to start doing it just so you can kind of get an idea. If you are still doing the, doing the steps, it's okay. This is where you add more character using some wavy lines as you're using your pen when redrawing parts of the brick. And basically we draw the brick first. along with adding in, the leaves on top. But then we go back in and make the shadows afterward. And our bricks have lines in them as well to make them look, old. And especially when the bricks meet up, we can kind of start to do some scribbling. I'm going to go in a little bit closer now, as I'm working on up here. And remember, all down the side of the wall on the right, we also have some suggestions of leaves that we can kind of start to scribble a little bit on the sides here.
Anita, those bricks or stones on the right, they have to have a little perspective too, right? Like the angle.
Yes. Yep.
So it's just more of a hint of it rather than.
So it's more of a, yeah, exactly. It's more of a hint. And so your line work is going to go upward.
But even at the top on the right, it's sort of
Up,
not.
up here, you
Your
mean?
original drawing, they were more flat.
These
The
are,
front
yeah.
facing ones, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, these are flat. Yeah, this side is flat. Yeah, because we're looking at it right on, like head on, like
Okay.
here. But this is, yep. And so as you start filling in the brick with the black, like I mentioned, you want to start drawing in the leaves first and then the brick around it. And so again, even making the suggestion of leaves, like here. And when you do get to the shadowed areas, that's when you can start filling in with your pen. And as your shadow on the left side gets down toward the curve here, you can then start to use what's called um, oh my goodness, it just went out of my head. Some line work here to indicate the shading. So we get dark, really dark up here, and then it gets a little bit lighter. And we indicate that with line work. The hatching, that's what I was thinking, hatching and cross hatching. So hatching is line work like this. And then if I'm to cross over it, this is cross hatching. And we do cross hatching when we want it to appear darker, the shading darker. So we keep going over it, literally like, crossing back and forth. And so the brick on the inside here would be a little bit darker. And so we're going to hatch it, and also remember to go around parts of your leaves. And on the brick, you would add little lines, imperfections on the brick as well. And I didn't go over in the center here around the square, but it's basically sort of a bunch of squares with some lines and suggestions of lines. Now you can make lines darker by going over those lines again with your pen. That's how you get it to look darker and a little more detailed, adding more line work. If you wanted to add some thick Sharpie, like if you have a thicker Sharpie and you wanted to have a little bit of that work, the dark parts, a little bit faster and thicker, you could add a black Sharpie as well instead of a very fine tip, the very fine tip we're using. So like if you want to go back in here with a Sharpie, you could do that. You can also do it for the steps if you wanted to, like the in between the steps if you've already drawn out. Taking the Sharpie the steps, you could do something like this. I didn't use Sharpie in my original, but you could to make it faster. You would basically take the Sharpie, and as you can see, I'm kind of going in each part. And I do find it helps a bit with creating that very worn look a little bit faster on the steps. You know, especially because a lot of this is the suggestion of detail. Um, it does make it go faster. I never thought to use a black Sharpie. That just came to me as we're working on this. If you do use a black Sharpie, you do have to balance between the black Sharpie and the thinner pen. And so you would have the thinner pen still come out from the black Sharpie so that it doesn't look strange. Unless you kept, you decided to keep the thickness of the black Sharpie for your lines. That would probably be okay. It'll just look a little bit thicker. And you could use a lighter hand um, with the black Sharpie. Kind of doing that now, just experimenting. Um, you would just have to kind of use the Sharpie as if you're kind of going a little bit above the paper in order to make some lighter marks. It is doable. And then so you're going to add, as I mentioned, a lot more of the leaves in combination with the bricks, both on the side. Basically working on whatever part you're in now. If it's the bricks on the side on the left, you do want to make sure that you've already either drawn in your kind of foliage if you are using the pen at this point. And take a look to see where there is shading. On the bricks for sure. And also, you know, lighter line work, meaning you kind of do like an indication of some shading, as we mentioned, and then we'll be adding in the white pen. But in each part of the bricks, you can add some light line work. And of course the door. Using line work, both heavy and lighter, um, sort of lighter lines. And so remember on the left side, you want to make sure that your steps still look like steps as far as, making the border go kind of zigzag on the side. And as you're filling in the steps with the black, I find this to be very easy in order to make it look very, the steps very broken and old, and also the sort of scattered leaves, by just kind of making it look like this, and at the same time tackling the black, the shadowing. Now here again, you can choose not to put as much, if it's confusing for you, if you don't want to put as much leaves on the stairs, that's okay. And again, remembering this is a very loose drawing, so any line work you make on the concrete will help it look old, and as well as the stairs and the bricks. And just start filling in, the darker areas on the stairs. Maybe some, like I mentioned, leaves on the scattered leaves on the top. Can kind of make scribbles for the leaves that are bunched together. Um, and then again, the hint on the side, on the right side of the brickwork. And again, making, line work that suggests it is old. And in shadow a bit. But remembering to do some shading right above the door and absolutely right above, where the um, the arch is, and on those parts of the stairs. I'm just going to show you a little bit of what the white pen is also going to do. Or, like I mentioned, if you have white colored pencil, or even if you have a white charcoal pencil, that would work too. The white is really going to make a lot of it look even more put together. I'm just going to add some of that now so you can see. Adding white to parts of the building. On the bricks. I like to add white especially to the leaves. and the stairs. So again, using line work on the stairs as far as, individual lines, along with some scribbling. Thank you, Kimmy. Can't wait to see what these look like. I'm going to probably give it about 5 more minutes. I feel like also this is one of those that you could keep going on the brick. You could keep going, adding in more foliage and leaves. And then also spots on the steps to make them look old, which would be doing things like, just gonna go in, making little cuts in the steps so that the dark part is the shadowing. And also the shadowing would be also where, the steps are kind of breaking, right? Like I'm filling this in a little bit, but I can add sort of some wonky lines in the actual step part, and now it looks like it's cracked. Usually at the edge of the step where it's sort of going down into the shadowed part. And then remember where you want something a little more shaded, you would go back in and add more sort of scribbly line work. And remembering it's going to be darker, underneath the arch here. I am so curious to see what everybody's looks like. I know there's a lot of work to do with this, but I'm going to remove my spotlight. And I'm going to stop the recording as well.